There's a lot of great YouTube videos out there on how to replace damaged luggage wheels, and I would suggest that you check them out. Now I'm going to show you if it's really worth your time to fix these damaged luggage wheels. This is the donor suitcase that I got at the thrift store for only $3. So what I plan to do is remove the wheels from this donor suitcase and replace them on the suitcase that I want to keep. Since it is a rivet, what I'm going to try to do is drill it out with the 1564 bit. Now before I do that, I'm going to put a little bit of oil on it since it is drilling through metal, just to make it easier and just to save a drill bit. And cut in between the axle and there's a bearing. If you move it to the rear too much, you end up cutting the wheel guard. If you move it forward, you end up damaging the suitcase material. So you're pretty much limited to an up-down motion. So I switched my drill bit to a titanium base one. It seemed like the other steel one wasn't cutting it. So there it goes. So now that I drilled the rivet out, I'm going to pull it out a little bit so I can get a hacksaw in and cut this front portion out. So you want to kind of pull the wheel to add a little friction so that rivet doesn't move. There you go. Get my handy dandy screwdriver. Just like that. The reason why when you drill through the axle and the wheel won't come off is because it still has this little lip. And I didn't want to drill all the way through and risk damaging the bearing. Also, this bearing has a little collar. And if I slip the axle in, that lip prevents the wheel from coming off the suitcase. So that's why, on the flip side, I had to hacksaw it flush. So now, there's no lip on it, and I could just slide it out. And that's when the wheel will just disengage from the suitcase. So if you're fortunate enough to have an angle grinder, I would probably use that. It's a lot quicker. Now that the hard part's over, all I have to do is just unscrew the axle from the suitcase I want to keep. The wheels that came off the suitcase that I want to keep, it's about 70 millimeters. So if you plan on ordering it rather than going through all that work with the donor suitcase, you probably just want to order the 70 millimeters. Now the wheels I'm replacing with are a bit smaller. They're about 67 millimeters, 66, 67 millimeters. Now that shouldn't be so much of a problem as long as the wheels will clear the edge of the suitcases so it doesn't rub. So here's the donor wheels, and before you put it in, you just want to make sure that the bearings, they'll spin. What I did was add some silicone to it, and you want to add silicone, not oil, because oil has a tendency to pick up dirt and then it kind of clogs up the bearings inside. Now all you need to do is just have this wheel base and just slip it in. To get the axle in, you have to align the bearings to the hole here. And once you flip this through, and it takes a little bit of patience here. So you don't want to over tighten it, because if you tighten it, it's going to push against the bearing and the wheels won't spin. So what I'm doing is lifting it up, and you can hear that the wheels are spinning. Tighten it a little bit more. And then that's too tight, so you can't hear the bearings move, so I'm going to back it off. And that should be perfect. So the same with the other side. So here's the new wheels on the suitcase. Remember, they were 3 millimeters short. So as long as this edge doesn't hit the ground, you're okay with that. If you notice, when I push it, it doesn't affect anything. These wheels, even though they're 3 millimeters short, they do a good job of fixing this suitcase.
If you decide that you don't want to fix it, I wouldn't recommend that you get the suitcase with 2 wheels. This is old technology. The new technology are the suitcase with 4 to 6 wheels that can rotate 360 degrees. The advantage of this suitcase is that it's a lot easier to maneuver around. Here's what I learned from doing this project. Number 1, I would not recommend that you go to a thrift store to purchase a donor suitcase. Even though this donor suitcase cost me $3, new wheels generally range from $8 to $15 a pair. So if you do the math, it's not worth $5 for all the energy and effort that you will spend removing the wheels from the donor suitcase just to replace the wheels on the suitcase that you want to keep. Unless, of course, you could find a suitcase where the wheels are easily removed. Also, you got to keep in mind, you may not have all the tools to do the job. You may not have a hacksaw or an angle grinder or even a titanium drill bit. Number 2, check the overall condition of your suitcase. If it's in fairly decent shape, then I would say go ahead and replace the wheels. But before you begin, check and see how the wheels are installed. If they're simple to remove, then it's just the easy process of unscrewing it and just replacing the wheels. However, if it's a little bit more difficult, such as those metal rivet type axles, they will take a little bit of time and effort, so you're going to have a little bit of patience. I made this video so you'll get a better understanding on the challenges to replace the wheels on your suitcase. Some videos make it seem so easy, and I wanted to test that theory. Overall, I love tinkering with things, so it wasn't a waste of effort for me. And besides, I can use a donor suitcase to store off-season clothes. I hope you learned something from this, and my pain is your gain, so you don't have to go through all the troubles I encountered. I hope you enjoyed this video.